The distress signal tore through diplomatic channels at 0300 hours, shattering the fragile peace that had taken decades to build between humanity and the Vac species. Varro, the towering predator leader whose reputation alone had ended wars, stood outside the human research station with his hunting pack. Every muscle in his massive frame was coiled for violence. "My cubs are missing," he growled, his triple-jointed legs shifting into the aggressive stance that preceded bloodshed. "They were last seen near your facility." The station commander felt the blood drain from his face. The Varthac were apex predators from a death world where even the plants had evolved to kill. Their young were sacred, guarded with a ferocity that made Earth's most territorial animals seem docile. If the cubs had been harmed near human territory, the treaty would dissolve in fire and fury. I'll wake Dr. Core immediately," the commander stammered. "She's our xenobiologist. She knows the surrounding ecosystem better than anyone." Varro's clawed hand tightened around his plasma rifle. "You have 1 hour," he said. "After that, I assume the worst." Dr. Liana Core stumbled out of her quarters, still pulling on her jacket. She'd been analyzing genetic samples until midnight, trying to understand why the local fauna seemed inexplicably drawn to human settlements. The irony wasn't lost on her as she now faced an 8-foot predator whose species hunted in packs and brought down creatures twice their size. "Varro," she said calmly, "describe the cubs. Age, markings, any distinguishing features." The predator leader's 3 eyes narrowed. Most species cowered before him. This human stood her ground, clipboard in hand, as if this were simply another research problem. "2 cubs," he replied. 43 days old. 1 male, 1 female. The female has a white patch on her left haunch. They wandered from the den during the sleep cycle. His voice cracked on the final words, betraying the terror beneath his fury. "They've never left the den before. They don't understand danger yet." Lina's mind raced. 43 days, roughly equivalent to a 3-month-old human infant. Curious, mobile, completely defenseless. She thought of the strange heat signatures she'd noticed recently, the small fluctuations in her lab's climate controls. "Come with me," she said suddenly. "Alone. Your pack will frighten them if they're where I think they are." Varro's translator implant struggled with the concept. "You want me to enter a human structure alone?" he growled. "While my cubs are missing?" The threat was unspoken but clear. Lina met his gaze without flinching. "Your cubs don't know to be afraid of me yet, but they'll recognize your scent. If they're scared and hiding, a hunting pack will make them bolt. Trust me, or waste your hour." The standoff lasted 3 heartbeats. Then Varro dismissed his pack with a sharp gesture and followed her inside. Lina led him through sterile corridors to her personal quarters, an elite space strictly off-limits to non-essential personnel. She pressed her finger to the biometric lock, and the door slid open with a soft hiss. "Stay quiet," she whispered, "and lower your body temperature if you can. You're radiating aggression." Varro's translator nearly glitched. How could a human sense his thermal state? Still, he obeyed, engaging meditation techniques that suppressed his predatory signature. The quarters were small by Varth standards, barely large enough for a proper nest. One corner was dominated by Lina's workstation, screens filled with streams of genetic data. Her sleeping area was a simple human bed layered with excessive padding and soft materials. And there, curled at the center of the bed, nestled against Lina's discarded jacket, were 2 tiny Varthac cubs. Varro froze. They weren't merely sleeping. They were draped across the jacket as if it were their mother's warmth, their small chests rising and falling in deep, peaceful rhythm. The female's tiny claws were hooked into the fabric. The male made soft chirping sounds that signaled complete contentment and safety. "I found them 3 nights ago," Lina said quietly, crouching beside the bed. "They squeezed through a ventilation shaft. They were cold, scared. I didn't know whose they were. I thought they might be part of the wild population we've been studying." She reached out slowly. Varro's instincts screamed at him to intervene, but the female cub merely stirred, nuzzled into Lina's hand, and drifted back to sleep. "They come every night now," Lina continued, wonder filling her voice. "They wait by the vent until I go to bed. Then they curl up right here. I've been monitoring their vitals, making sure they're healthy. I was going to report it this morning." She hesitated, then looked up at him. "I didn't want to lose them." Varro's world tilted. His species had studied humans for years, cataloged them as clever but weak, lacking claws, armor, or fangs. They had never understood how humanity had spread so far, inspired such loyalty, forged so many alliances. Now he was staring at his cubs sleeping peacefully on a human's bed, treating her scent as safety instead of threat. How? He whispered. They're taught to fear anything not Varthac. It's instinct. Lina smiled gently, stroking the female cub's soft fur. Maybe, she said, but there's another instinct too, the one that recognizes warmth, care, and protection. Your cubs were cold and lost. I made them warm and safe. Everything else. She shrugged. Everything else is just details. Varro slowly knelt beside the bed. His cubs stirred at their father's scent, chirping softly, but they didn't flee from the human. Instead, the female reached out with one tiny paw, touching both Lina's hand and Varro's claw, bridging two species with the innocent certainty of youth. The treaty, Varro said quietly, was forged through fear, through respect for each other's capacity for destruction. Yes, Lina replied. Perhaps that was the wrong foundation. As dawn broke over the research station, a hunting pack waited outside, confused by the absence of violence. Inside, a predator leader sat beside a human xenobiologist, watching his cubs sleep peacefully between them. For the first time, Varro wondered if his species had encountered something more powerful than fear. They had encountered love, and it was terrifying. Please follow my channel for more videos. One click from you can change my life.